Hey now, everybody.
What's
Happy
up?
Monday.
Yeah.
What's up, Adam?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. Today, we're watching the Libs of TikTok had an interview. Chaya Raichik had an interview with Taylor Lorenz. Okay. And Taylor Lorenz not only is a very, very left-wing journalist, but is she not the person that doxed Libs of TikTok
She is
originally?
100% the person that unmasked and doxed Libs of TikTok. Yep.
So it's kind of bizarre and interesting, I guess, that she even agreed to do this interview in the first place. But it isn't a very interesting conversation. They talk a lot about the transgender conversations. Obviously, that's kind of what Libs of TikTok focuses on. And we're not going to watch the whole thing because there's parts that are pretty boring. But I picked out time codes where I think they talk about some interesting things, and we can kind of review this conversation.
Yeah, no, this conversation there's so many great interactions in here. And I do think obviously Taylor Lorenz is ideologically possessed, so she thinks she's sitting across from a demon from another dimension and treats the entire interview like that.
Yes,
Doesn't
that's a good point.
she
Yeah.
thinks Taylor Lorenz thinks if she actually took some kind of conservative perspective and just pretended that it was honest for a second, that she would burst into flames. She would like
Hmm.
spontaneously combust. Oh no, conservative thoughts. This is evil. So, and she basically has that mindset in every single interview that she goes into. Obviously, she sees Libs of TikTok as a giant right winger, which is she? I'm not quite sure.
I mean, she seems like she's obviously on the right, which doesn't seem like she's some massive right winger, at least in this conversation.
She
Um,
seems like an activist focused on one objective, right? To get the smut out of elementary school.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. She said she was radicalized by the COVID stuff, but I mean, obviously, she's more known for the gender stuff is kind of the primary thing that she focuses on.
Right. I guess you're right. Yeah, maybe it is the COVID. Maybe she's hip on that COVID stuff too.
Yeah.
So
So anyway, let's jump into this.
let's do it.
Appalled by what?
The radicalization of it, the way that they come after our most innocent and vulnerable population, or kids. The the way that it makes there's nothing logical about it. There's nothing logical about chopping off kids' body parts. There's nothing logical about giving kids porn in school. There's two sexes, and that's it. So anything out of that, it's just based on lies and nonsense.
Yeah. Did you grow up? I know you grew up in a sort of a more conservative community. Did you know any LGBTQ people growing up? What was your exposure to that community just in life prior to sort of understanding the world through politics?
So don't you think Taylor Lorenz is executing this belief that many people on the left have, that conservatives just they don't know any LGBT people. So
Hmm.
therefore, they just hate them because they're completely ignorant of their existence, or that they're just normal people.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what she's getting at when she asks the question. Um, you know, it's it's not clear to me that Libs a Tick that Chaya here has is like, is she anti-gay people? Does she think that homosexuality is a sin? I mean, she doesn't ask that question in the interview. It's not. I don't. My understanding is that she doesn't think that, and it's, I haven't seen her make those posts. And primarily, she seems to be saying in this conversation that she's kind of fine with people living how they want as long as it's not being taught in schools, like or like pushed on children essentially to live a specific way.
Yeah.
So, like, even if, because she says she hadn't really known any, LGBT people, like, how is that relevant to the very specific thing that she's talking about in terms of the types of, trans stuff that is being talked about in schools, which obviously, most people, her age or even my age, or older, they're not going to have known a trans person because that's a relatively recent phenomenon that the numbers have, exploded.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I
Also,
never really paid attention to it.
also notice the t-shirts that she's
The
wearing.
t-shirt is the t-shirt is amazing. So she has a t-shirt on of Taylor Lorenz crying,
Yes.
which they have the same kind of similar look, these two women, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you didn't have any LGBTQ friends or anything,
No.
family members?
No.
So your first exposure to the LGBTQ world was through basically learning about it through the media ecosystem?
Through themselves, actually. They would say exactly what their intentions are, what their whole movement is about. So I learned about it through watching their own videos.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What sort of videos were you watching? I mean, are you just
All
talking about
the
the TikToks that you share and stuff?
And tons more on TikTok. It's all over TikTok.
Yeah.
Very easy to find.
Yeah. I'm curious,
See, that's another huge issue that the left doesn't address, which is that for a lot of people who don't know trans people in real life or even LGBT people in real life, if their first exposure is all like the most insane, insipid, horrible, woke people on social media and on TikTok, like you're really doing this massive disservice to the LGBT community as a whole. And a lot of people in the LGBT community acknowledge this, and they also hate these people. That's why a lot of people that want to get rid of kink at Pride and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like broadly the left just refuses to police its own, in regarding this issue.
Yeah, they can't. Their argument is, look, you should just ignore that. She's basically, insinuating that, there's some bad LGBT people, but, there's some good ones too, and you should just ignore the bad ones.
Right, right.
I feel like there's been, especially on, my colleagues have done great reporting on sort of like this rift on Twitter. I know that you have a very conservative fan base, and in your comments sometimes you'll see a lot of commentary about sort of the great replacement theory. What are your thoughts on that?
What are your thoughts on the comments on your post telling me to kill myself?
Horrible. Yeah, horrible. Obviously against that. Yeah.
So will you come out and condemn that publicly?
Oh, I would condemn it anytime. I'm against murdering anyone, of course.
So you're against death threats against me?
I'm a big, as somebody that's dealt with a lot of online harassment, I don't defend threatening to murder anyone. But I guess I'm curious,
because a lot of times it comes after an attack in the media, like someone like you or another journalist.
So are you saying that, like, if somebody posts something and then attacks follow, that person should answer for those attacks?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'm saying that people like you tell me that all the time, so I'm just asking if you think the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think I have said that here, but I think it's kind of interesting, I guess, in the conservative movement, there's this ideology around sort of white nationalism, which is obviously kind of a hardline ideology that's generally been pretty critical of Jewish communities. And I'm wondering, as a Jewish woman, how do you feel about sort of aligning yourself with those people and accounts? You see this sort of rhetoric in your replies, and I only bring it up. I'm not saying that you necessarily endorse that rhetoric. I would imagine that you don't. But how do you kind of think about those nuances when you're thinking about kind of the audience that you're building?
Some of your audience says we should chop off kids' body parts. What do you think about that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like a girl says she wants to be a boy, so she chops off her breasts.
I'm a big, I believe in personal liberty and bodily autonomy personally.
So kids should be able to cut off their breasts if they think that they're boys.
I mean, I believe in gender ideology. I guess I personally, my feeling is that I believe in personal liberty. I grew up in a town.
I wonder how Doomer feels about Taylor Lorenz saying she believes in gender ideology. Didn't he tell us that we can't utter the words gender ideology without seeming like right-wing crazy people?
Yes.
Taylor Lorenz just said, "Look, I believe in gender ideology."
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, there's this question of like policing your followers that kind of comes up. And I think it's a legitimate question and this kind of comes up later in the conversation repeatedly, is it, if Libs of TikTok puts out something that's true, right? True information, because obviously you shouldn't put out false information, but true information about a person or a school or something, and then that causes that person to get a bunch of death threats, or that causes the school to get bomb threats. You know, it puts her in a difficult situation, and because it's like, okay, well, you want to be able to talk about things, expose things that you think are bad and a problem, but you obviously don't. Presumably, you don't want to actually get people to get death threats. You don't want schools to get bomb threats and things of that nature. And I do think you should tell people like not to do these things, but that only goes so far, right? I mean, that's only going to. I don't know if that's how many people that's going to prevent from engaging in that behavior. But I don't know. Is it just to do your due diligence? Is it just a virtue signal so that you don't get attacked by this when you tell them not to do? Like, is there anything you can do in these situations?
I do think it helps. Obviously, there are
Hmm.
people on the fringes, between the crazies and the people who would never dream of doing something like that. There are people who could be tipped into crazy, right? So
Right.
you say, this isn't helping the movement. This isn't helping me. You're not doing anyone any favors. And I think that is important to do. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously there are crazy people and it's not going to work with everyone. One of the things that I am aware of in this situation, it's like, is someone just a libs of TikTok follower? I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that, each person only devotes himself to one content creator, right? So
Right.
this person could be a libs of TikTok follower and followers of much more harsher content, right? So if they're one of the crazies that's going to do something, just because libs of TikTok says don't do it doesn't necessarily mean some other content creator isn't
Right.
out there that's going to push them over to the edge. So this is just, I don't like this line of questioning. Like, just because someone is subscribed to you as a follower, you are responsible for everything that they do. That's just
Hmm. Sure.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And what you're saying, I mean, what you're saying is a very good point because very often libs of TikTok is not like they're covering a story that like everyone in that sphere is covering at the same
Yeah.
time. Right. So it's like, well, was it, who exactly is the one that's sort of cultivating, the audience of people doing these bad actions? And then also a lot of people are, retweeting, quote tweeting, libs of TikTok, sharing it with their audiences, blah, 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 blah. Maybe, unfortunately, even though I don't really like it because it's kind of dishonest, probably one of the most persuasive ways to stop people from doing it is to be like, oh, it's only feds that are sending, death threats and bomb threats because it's all like false flag stuff. Because that would actually get people like motivated to not do it. Because like, oh, you're a fed if you do this stuff,
Oh,
which
that's
is
a
kind
good
of happening.
idea.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
which is kind of
Interesting.
what like happens with like a lot of the white nationalist stuff. It's like, oh, you're a fed. If you're advocating for these violence actions or the racism directly, you're a fed. This is all fed behavior. So, but then it's annoying because, and the thing I wanted to bring this up was that like the people on the left never almost never addressed their participation in this, or they never put the criteria that they're throwing at libs of TikTok or people on the right. They never hold that up. They stand it up to themselves because there's a crap ton of people on the left that will, and Raichik talks about it here, where she gets all these death threats. She gets all these threats against her life. A lot of people on the right get threats against them and things of that nature. And the people on the left never also like hold themselves to the same standard where they say, oh, well, people, who are following Taylor Lorenz's reporting, people who are following any of these other people on the left's reporting, when you label libs of TikTok to be Satan incarnate, when you label all these people to be, responsible for, the quote transgenocide or whatever, that you also have to take responsibility then for violence and threats that those people are, that's aimed at their direction. They never take it because they think that what they're doing, the people on the left think that what they're doing, that the accusations they're levying are justified and moral, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Taylor Lorenz doesn't put on this video, please don't contact uh, libs of TikTok. Please don't try
Right.
to harass this person. Right. She says, look, I would condemn that, but she doesn't actually condemn it in the video or tell her audience not to harass her.
Right.
So does she really condemn?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like, it's like, oh, okay.
Well, if you ask me to condemn it, sure, I'll condemn it.
Mm-hmm,
I'm not going to
mm-hmm.
actually go out of my way to cultivate an audience that will not do those kinds of things, but
Right.
whatever. Yeah, I think she completely rose it. Raichik. I keep thinking. I'm like, am I pronouncing her name right?
I
Raichik.
know.
Raichik keeps throwing these things back on Taylor Lorenz brilliantly, and I love it.
Where a lot of people for their middle school graduation, women got nose jobs. I knew somebody that got a boob job at age 14. And I guess I struggle to kind of understand the criticism when there's certainly no criticism of that sort of thing, right? But then there's criticism of this other sort of gender affirming, stuff. So
the fact that she doesn't know the difference between this, Sitch, is just crazy to me. It's so insane. Like if a girl is going to get a boob job, she's still going to live, she's going to find a husband, she's going to get married, she's going to have she's probably have more job opportunities, right? It's just between someone who is, I'm going to basically sterilize myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's all true. And then on top of it, just from like a like what we're talking about here, it's totally insane to refer to a woman getting a boob job or nose job or any sort of cosmetic surgery as gender affirming surgery. That's not what it is. That's completely dishonest. That's gaslighting. They're not getting gender affirming surgery. They're not getting a nose job to affirm their gender, right?
Oh,
they're getting cosmetic surgery because they think that it makes them look more attractive.
More attractive.
That has nothing to do with affirming their gender. That's totally insane. And I wish that Raichik had like really called that out, be like, what? Like, no, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you're comparing a boy being allowed to chop off his penis to a teenage girl getting a nose job?
Well, just to be extra clear, I don't believe that 13-year-olds are able to make those sort of medical decisions.
Minors are, yeah.
Oh, really? And where?
Yeah. Children's National Hospital in D.C. gives 16-year-olds hysterectomies.
Oh, 16-year-olds.
They gave me that. They told me that directly. They said 16 girls.
She just said, is she saying 16-year-old is not a minor? She had a reaction there. Oh, 16-year-olds.
They're just 16-year-olds, Adam. Like, that's fine.
They're still minors. Last I checked, it was 18 to become a legal adult.
No, listen, it's totally fine if a 16-year-old gets a hysterectomy.
Ugh.
And younger, that's what they said. So hysterectomies, there are definitely minors. I know for sure as young as 12 who are getting double mastectomies. They definitely allow vaginoplasties for minors and phalloplasties. I'm not aware of a specific case of a minor, but they allow 18-year-olds.
Yeah, which okay, 18-year-olds, you're an adult. But let's just get back to the Great Replacement stuff, because I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that whole ideology?
I mean,
so yeah,
it's so bad
like
faith. It's so bad faith.
It's like, oh, okay, let's change the subject. Like, oh, all right, I guess,
You made this completely terrible argument / accusation, and now you're like, but let's get back to that Great Replacement thing.
Yeah.
Are you a Nazi?
Yeah. It's weird because so a lot of these quote finger quote journalists, they do this thing where they're interviewing someone where they're trying to sort of debunk everything they're saying. And yet it's like, okay, well, when they kind of bring things back to them to try to be like, well, wait, what are you talking about? They either change the subject or they say, listen, I'm interviewing you. I don't have to answer any of your questions. Like, well, wait a minute. What you kind of do. What are you talking about? Like, you're the one trying to debunk everything I'm saying. And I'm like, no, you're the one that's wrong. You have to actually defend a position. And if they try to do this elusive stuff where it's like, I have no position to defend. I'm just going to attack everything you say.
Yeah, there's a position implicit in every single thing she says.
Yes.
How many there were times that
look, and she lets her get away with it. What the heck?
Yeah.
Reach over and slap her. She's not supposed to be able to do that.
There were some months over the past 3 years that there were more illegals coming into our border than children being born in the U.S. Does that not look like they're trying to replace us?
I guess sort of
They're
imagine
bringing in
America
a whole
as
new population.
a melting pot. Isn't that sort of what America was founded
No,
on?
but they're actually bringing in more people than are actually being born.
So I guess it sounds like you sort of do ascribe to this theory of the Great Replacement. How does that make
I just
you
look at the
feel?
facts and the numbers.
Well, so, I mean, just let's
That's going
give
to
a...
be completely.
sorry.
That's going to be completely spun.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with Chaya here. But then Taylor's like statements about I feel like both these women, and I hate this, like, I don't want to bring their gender, it's not because of their women. I feel like both these individuals in this conversation are people who don't have actually, like, they have very strong opinions, but they don't have actual, like, deep thoughts about these topics. Is that like a fair statement to make? Because like if I was talking to Raichik, I'd be like, well, like, okay, so immigration is increasing. I agree with that, and birth rates are decreasing. But when you talk about like the Great Replacement, the way that she's doing it, she says they're bringing people in. You're assuming that there's like some intention here, like there's some kind of societal intention to lower the birth rate of the native population, and a societal and a government intention to like replace that, or to get people from other countries. It's like, well, is there an intention, or is it simply that, as you see everywhere in the West, for various reasons that are kind of very complicated to get into, and no one even really knows clearly, birth rates keep going down in first world countries, and birth rates are not going down in second or third world countries. And so when you have, immigration is kind of like the way that the population is increasing.
Yeah.
It's not like there's some sort of, I mean, maybe if you believe there's a conspiracy where, the Rothschilds are sprinkling in, boner be gone juice into the water to try to get birth rates down or something, right? But I don't think that that's what's going on here. I think these are just, this is just like these are just a bunch of systems converging and creating a result that people don't like, and that's fine if you don't like it, and it should be addressed and fixed. That's fine, but it's not intentional.
Yeah, that's the theory part of it. That somebody, in a smoke-filled room is making these decisions. That's the theory behind the Great Replacement theory.
Right.
Yeah. But she doesn't necessarily buy into that stuff, or it's not
It's not clear
explicit in what she's saying. But
Well, I don't know. When she says they're bringing them in, that the implication is that there's some intention here, right?
yeah, well, I guess you're right. I guess so.
Now,
but
you could make a half of an argument here. We could say, well, I don't think that there's an intention to lower birth rates. However, maybe there's an intention of some people on the left to keep bringing in immigrants because they think that those people will eventually vote for Democrats. I think I think that's more realistic. Some people have actually explicitly said things around that idea, so that's actually like more in the realms of, what I think is motivating some behavior. But even then, I don't think it's so much like bringing people in. It's more like being permissive to allow people in, really. I don't think they need to bring anyone in. A lot of people want to come to America.
yeah, the thing that's bothersome about this interview and interviews like it is Taylor Lorenz could care less what the truth is. She could care less what Raichik's actual beliefs are. Her goal here is to make it look as much like she's an insane conspiracy theorist who wants to blame the Jews for everything and promote that narrative.
Well, she is Jewish, but
yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Blame minorities probably for everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But make her look as bad as humanly possible, whether or
Right.
not that is actually the case or true or any of that kind of stuff. So it's activism. It's not journalism.
No, you're completely correct. But I think Taylor is like really bad at it because she didn't even catch that in her question. Like, well, like, what do you mean? What do you mean they're bringing them in? Like, what do you mean? Is this intentional? Like, she doesn't even know how to answer she doesn't even know how to have a conversation about this topic. And maybe it's just because either A, Taylor Lorenz is not smart, or B, Taylor Lorenz is so in her own bubble, she's never had this conversation with people, before. So she's just completely caught off guard by all these answers, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think she's ever really had this conversation, not in any seriousness. So.
Mm-hmm.
Corollary, right? A lot of Jewish people fled, Europe, came over here also as immigrants. and there's a lot of criticism towards Jewish people in those movements, in those far-right movements. So I'm just wondering, as a Jewish woman, sort of how you feel about that and your role in cultivating this fan base that might think of you as a minority or an outsider.
Not all cultures are equal. Yeah.
So I know you have a lot of concerns about educational materials.
That was actually a really good answer from Chaya Raichik. And she doesn't, Taylor Lorenz just immediately changes the subject, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, not all cultures are equal. It's like, okay, I guess so. Changes the subject. Like, this is what's annoying about these like fake interview debates, because it's like, oh, whenever they don't have a response to something that's like a gotcha, they just change the subject. And it's like, well, I'm not changing the subject. It's an interview. I'm just asking questions. I'm just moving on, right?
Yeah.
And books, library books and things, especially.
They're importing people who want to destroy America, and who come here and do not stand for what America stands for. So, and I think, and we see it, there's time after time after time after time. They come in, they're destroying our cities, they bring crime with them, and they are bringing them in to replace us. Okay. And yeah, I think people from various countries, they're all different.
So
do you believe that?
No, I think this is,
yeah.
It's weird because she gave, the first answer she gave was very succinct. I thought it was a good answer. This answer is terrible.
Yeah.
This is her worst answer in the entire interview. It makes her look pretty racist. And also, it's not even factually true. The idea that like, all the immigrants coming into our country, they all want to destroy America. They're all doing the crimes. Like, none of that is actually accurate in terms of, if you look at the data, see who's doing crimes and what's going on here,
Yeah, the people who want to destroy America are the people who are already here, born here.
Yes.
Who've just been indoctrinated to hate America.
Right.
You're sitting across from one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
They already have American citizenship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think she's on Twitter all the time. So she's been seeing those videos of the black people beating people up in the subway and stuff. Like, those are rolling past her feed all the time. Actually, people are submitting those to her because they want her to retweet them.
Sure. And that definitely has an effect on people when they see these, when they see these videos that are always shoved in their faces. But again, like, that's not, those people aren't immigrants usually anyway. There are obviously crimes that immigrants commit, but in terms of their population, per percentage of the population, it's relatively low. So
the thing about those videos, if you look into them, a lot of times they're like, this video's 8 years old.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Right. You have like the same 1,000 videos that kind of get circulated for, 10,
right,
20
exactly.
years.
And you think, oh, this all happened this month. But it's like really over a 10, 20-year period.
Long period of time. Yeah.
Just back to the sort of education stuff, I know that you're interested in removing a bunch of books from libraries that you consider inappropriate. I was just wondering, out of all the books that you've sort of tried to get removed, how many have you read?
I've read a couple of them.
Which ones?
Genderqueer. I've read This Book is Gay. I've read Flamer. I've read, what were some?
I just thought, there's something else I want to say, going back to the immigration thing for a second too, which is that it's really, there is a very good reason for why you don't want unfettered immigration into your country. You don't want to have, it does have an effect on the economy. Too much immigration is going to destabilize, the native population that's living in an area, and too much immigration is obviously going to change the culture of various areas and even the country as a whole, depending on, how big your country is. There are good reasons to say we need to have limited immigration, or to have a specific number of immigration, without kind of relying on these incorrect, well, in the case that she's talking about, incorrect negative stereotypes or tropes. And it totally destroys your argument to half the country when you bring up these sort of bad reasons for something, because then everyone says, oh, well, she's just racist. right? And they just kind of dismiss everything she's saying. And then furthermore, they'll dismiss even the argument about, that we need to have limited immigration at all, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's everyone around this topic is being completely bad faith.
Some of the other ones. My shadow is pink. It feels good to be yourself. Mm-hmm. There's so many more. Tons of them.
How do you kind of square, would you say, I feel like you are, or at least I feel like you've spoken about free speech before and the need for free speech and sort of supported Elon Musk's sentiments in that area. Would you say that you're a free speech supporter?
Yeah.
So how do you square the sort of being this free speech supporter with wanting to ban literature?
What kind of literature?
Any kind of literature. I mean, I would think that
what kind of literature am I trying to ban?
Oh, I thought you were just trying to say you've made an effort to get books removed from schools.
What kind of books?
Books dealing with LGBTQ people and sexual
education.
No, that's
not what I said.
Oh, so you're not trying to get any books banned from school?
That's not what I said either.
Okay, why don't you explain to me how you're thinking about this?
You just accused me of wanting to ban books. What kind of books am I trying to ban?
You tell me.
I'm not trying to ban anything.
But you're not trying to ban any books?
Who said I'm trying to ban books?
Are you trying to remove books from libraries?
From public school libraries.
Okay. So how do you square your sort of notion of free speech and free expression and allowing all of that stuff with wanting literature removed and wanting access to information removed?
What kind of literature?
Oh,
Sitch, Taylor Lorenz is hurting my head here. She's such a moron. It's like unstoppable idiocy.
I don't think this is like her being stupid. I think this is her being dishonest. And actually, Raichik had a good strategy to deal with this, which is like, well, Taylor Lorenz is accusing her of wanting to ban books and saying you're a hypocrite because you're in favor of free speech, and kind of saying, well, what books do I want to ban? Because they're trying to do this conflation act. They're conflating the idea of banning books with trying to get books removed from school libraries, which are two incredibly different things.
Yes.
Banning a book is saying, like, I don't think this book should be able to be sold. Not, well, maybe certain people ages should not have free, readily available access to this at a public school, right? It's like totally insane to say that that's a banning a book, right?
Right. Or that you can have that position and not still be a free speech, supporter.
Right. It's like, okay, do you think that, Playboy should be allowed to be in, a public school library? No.
Well, if you don't, you
want to
hate
ban
free
Playboy?
speech.
You hate free speech? It's like, shut up. Oh my God. It's such nonsense. Such obvious BS.
Yeah, it is dishonest.
Literature.
You tell me.
But I don't think she's smart enough to know she's being dishonest.
Maybe. I don't know.
These are the arguments that are out there. These are the the standard leftist arguments that everyone is bringing up. So she's just bringing them up. She thinks these are good arguments because she's stupid.
Mm-hmm. It's possible. It's very possible. It's hard to tell with Taylor.
Porn. Gay porn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what do you consider gay porn in these books?
So you want to see it?
Are you talking about the stuff that you've tweeted, basically? You consider
yeah,
it
like there's pictures of like blowjobs and like how to have gay sex with like naked people and people masturbating and stuff. Yeah.
Did you?
Pictures of it.
Oh,
yeah.
totally. And I went to public school.
Oh, totally.
And we had a sex ed class in public school where we were shown, information about sexual health and, sex and masturbation and things like that. I'm curious about your own education. I mean, was that something did you ever go to a sex ed class, or is this all sort of new to you where you're sort of learning about how this works in public schools?
I don't live under a rock.
So you did have sex ed classes when you were growing up?
We had some kind of education, yeah.
Uh-huh. So you do think it's important for children to have education, sex education?
Not the way they're doing it in public schools.
Uh-huh. How are they doing it?
They're giving kids porn and telling third graders that they should masturbate. They're giving middle school children guides to gay sex and anal sex, sex toys.
How would you describe the type of sex education that you would like to see in schools?
At this point, I want all sex education actually removed from schools because I don't trust the schools to do it.
Okay.
After what we've seen, I don't trust them at all. Zero. We need to completely eradicate it and then redo it in a normal way that's appropriate.
So I saw.
Another issue I have with Taylor in the way that she conducts this interview is that she's asking all these like questions and she's trying to ask these probing questions. And then instead of like engaging with it to whether she agrees or disagrees with it, to see if there's some common ground and then there's some level of disagreement, she's going to take all these answers, then go on her own and write up some story or her own article or Substack or whatever about how evil Taylor is. And it's like, well, you had her right there and you were talking to her at that moment. Why didn't you address these things, confront her with these things, as opposed to doing this like tactic where you're just going to try to throw out a bunch of questions to try to get a bunch of gotchas and then run away. And then in the safety of your own private room, you're going to write up a bunch of bad stuff about her after the fact.
Write up a bunch of stuff about Raichik, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She doesn't really care about the answers, though.
No.
She's already got the narrative. She's just there to see Raichik confirm the narrative.
Mm.
That's the point of all these questions. But and Raichik is kind of playing into her hands. All the stuff she's saying can easily be spun into this woman's alt-right provocateur.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you watch the interview, definitely Taylor. Well, I don't know for if you're, it's hard to say. I think everyone's just going to interpret the interview like whatever side they're on.
Yeah.
Because I mean, not saying I think that if you like from my perspective, you watch the full interview, Taylor definitely comes off significantly worse. Raichik comes off significantly better in terms of what she's talking about, what she's advocating for. Seems fair for the most part, with the exception of the immigration stuff. Seems pretty straightforward, pretty normal. Like even the sex ed stuff, she said that she's not even in favor of like no sex ed. She just thinks that it needs to be redone, because what's going on right now is messed up. But she still wants kids to learn sex ed in school, which is a far cry from like, the very far right's, no one should ever be able to talk about anything relating to sex at school ever, position.
Right. Yeah. I just know she's going to be taken out of context and spun. I guess she doesn't care. She's doing the whole Trump thing. Oh, they're going to say what they want about me anyway, so I might as well just say whatever. So I don't prefer that opting out strategy. Like I'm just going to not keep, I'm not going to play their game, and that's going to produce some sort of good result. I don't think it does produce good results.
You think opting out doesn't produce good results? Is what you're saying.
No. I think they end up spinning you into the next Richard Spencer. Like the female Richard Spencer narrative is being crafted right now.
Yeah, and you're probably right because what like the way this works is that if there's something incendiary in this interview that Taylor can run with, she'll go run with it on Twitter, and then the big left-wing mainstream media outlets will pick it up, and then the right-wing mainstream media outlets will go and they'll pick up and defend Raichik, and they'll play some some clip of Taylor saying something stupid, or show how the clip that they're using to attack Libs TikTok is like dishonest or whatever. So I guess it's just kind of everyone kind of, feeding their own audiences, right, at this point.
Yeah, of course. But I do think it does reputational damage. I mean, obviously Richard Spencer's not in a good place today, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's because no one wants to defend Richard Spencer, right?
Right.
Like there's lots of people that will defend Chaya Raichik, but there's no one that wants to defend like the overt white nationalist.
Yeah,
that's popular,
Yeah.
So.
Besides posted.
How do you feel about Nex's death?
It's very tragic.
So they're talking about the person that died recently.
Yeah, the non-binary one.
Yeah,
right?
Which actually, so we talked about that, and then more information has come out since then, and I believe more information has come out since this interview that completely changed the context of that story, which is that it seems unclear. First of all, they know that the person's death had nothing to do with them getting attacked at school at all. They know that now. Okay. They don't know exactly what caused it, but they know that it's not related to that attack. They didn't die from some sort of trauma relating to that, getting beat up in the bathroom or whatever. Number one. And then number two, there was like a video that came out that was her explaining Nex explaining, or they explaining, the incident. And it's not even clear, like, it's not even clear what was going on. It's like they perceived that three girls in the bathroom were laughing at her and her friend, and it's not even clear that they were, but she perceived that they were, and so she decided to throw water at them. So
Yeah,
she
she dumped
basically,
like a glass or a cup of water on him.
right. So she started a fight by throwing water at someone, and then they attack her. And then it seemed like quickly the teacher kind of came in the bathroom and broke up the fight, and they all kind of went there. They got sent to the office, and they got checked out by the doctors and
That's
everything.
not called an attack. That's called self-defense.
Well, I don't know if I call it self-defense, but I'd say it's someone instigating a fight, right? Someone throws water at you, they're definitely instigating a fight at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, so and yet when this story came out, and this information wasn't available, it gets spin into this. All these articles are talking about how, like, oh my God, like this, these students feel emboldened to attack this young, trans girl because of the evil Republicans in the local government who are passing these anti-trans bills and all this other crazy stuff, which is obviously nonsense. Number one. Number two, she started the fight by throwing water at them. Number three, she's not even trans. He's non-binary. He's not transitioning to anything. So what is this? What is all this legislation? What is all this? Oh, all this stuff has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, it's awful.
Oh, so dumb.
It's horrible.
Do you believe Nex should have been allowed to receive gender affirming care?
She should not be allowed to go on irreversible puberty blockers or get sex change surgery.
How do you think about the fact that
Now they're talking about the non-binary person as if
I don't
she's
know.
going to get gender affirming care?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I never saw an article talking about her
Dumb.
getting transitioning or anything, so I don't know.
So often your posts, things that you post about hospitals, libraries, schools, etc., after you make these posts about them, they deal with threats, sometimes bomb threats, sometimes harassment.
We don't know who's calling in the threats. And I mean, look, bomb threats are bad. I've said that 1,000 times. People who call in bomb threats should be arrested and investigated. You can't call in bomb threats. But I just don't know what does it have to do with.
Well, I guess, a recent NBC investigation.
Okay, well, listen, that's good. If she's saying don't do this, that's good.
Yeah.
But there's a point where you can't really, I don't know what more you can really do in some of these situations with some of the people. If you're telling them not to do it and they keep doing it.
What's this have to do with me?
Yeah.
And found at least 33 instances where you posted about a specific person or institution, and that person or institution was immediately bombarded with death threats and violent threats, including bomb threats, other violent threats. That's a pretty significant correlation. How do you, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but I got like tons of death threats this week after the entire media machine came after me. So are they responsible for those?
I don't think that there's the same correlation. Are you receiving bomb threats?
I'm receiving death threats, like, hi, I'm gonna come murder you.
Yeah, and I definitely sympathize with you there.
Like,
I get those
literally,
every day.
the article goes live, and then I get those threats.
I get the same thing when a Fox News article goes live.
So, is the journalist responsible? The journalist who posted the article?
I would say, there's a different responsibility when we're talking about media, and I guess to me, a death threat is different than a violent bomb threat. A death threat, I think we're kind of getting normalized to them. Unfortunately, online we get a lot of them. Probably you and I get them constantly.
You heard it right here, Taylor Lorenz. Death threats are no big deal. She's fine with them.
Mm-hmm.
I just this line of logic is just insane.
24/7. I'm wondering kind of how you think about taking these obscure people, right? Because you and I are both public figures, and I imagine you and I we have a high tolerance, right, for what we can handle online.
Now she's changed it from some hospital or institution to some obscure figure.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
We've gone from schools and hospitals to just some random person somewhere, which, by the way, that doesn't, even though, yeah, you're right to point out that it is dishonest to switch, the subject. But even if it's just a single person, okay, who's not an institution. I mean, usually the ones that I've seen, it's like a teacher who's working at a school or someone who's working at some organization, not like a random person walking around the street. They just ask them this like random question, they respond, and then it blows up. It's always someone seems to be involved with education. It's like I don't care if they're a random person. If they're part of a school district and they're teaching kids something that I think is like horrible, who cares if it's an individual person? You should talk about that. You should blow that up. And Taylor Lorenz would agree with that if there was some video of a teacher in a school district that was saying like, "Hey, if you're gay, you're gonna burn in hell forever," and that blew up,
Yeah.
and everyone tried to get that guy fired. Taylor Lorenz would be applauding that. She wouldn't be like, "Oh, how dare you blow up this individual person's life."
She would completely be on board with that. Yes.
Say you're taking a private citizen, a gay teacher, for instance, in a small town, and you post about that person, and then that person.
Look, she's even saying, look, like, if she's her capacity as a teacher is a public servant, not a private citizen.
Right. And she throws in like the gay teacher thing to make it seem like, oh, she's attacking a teacher just for being gay, as opposed to like, them actually advocating for something that is, not something they should be advocated for in public schools.
Yes. Are police officers private citizens when they're beating people up?
How dare you focus on this private citizen attacking this unarmed person? They
Exactly. It's so weird. Let's take a private citizen, a teacher who's teaching class to 30 students. What? Is she a private citizen or is she a public servant?
And subsequently, who had no media presence prior, receives pretty violent threats. How does that make you feel?
We need to answer the question first, though. Is the journalist responsible for actions that have to happen after?
So you consider sort of your posts about private citizens, incendiary posts, you consider that journalism?
I'm an independent journalist.
And do you think that there's a difference between...
Taylor, the answer is no. The journalist is not responsible. You should be a journalist, right? You should know this.
Between doing journalism on a completely private figure that has no public presence and no institutional power versus reporting on a powerful public institution or person?
You still didn't answer the question. Is the journalist responsible for reporting for any actions that happen after the reporting?
Personally, I think that journalists should take care and should consider sort of the framing, and I think that they should do their best not to appear as if they encourage that sort of behavior. I've noticed that you haven't necessarily publicly condemned that behavior, publicly told your supporters, listen guys, stop calling in these bomb threats.
Who said it's my followers? Do you have information that it's my followers?
I guess who else's followers would it be?
I don't know.
So
there's 300 million people in this country.
So you post bomb threats follow, and you're saying it might be just unrelated people?
I have no idea. We don't know who it is.
Have you taken steps to find out?
We filed some FOIAs with police departments.
Yeah. What have you found?
We haven't got to anything useful yet that we can use. But actually, one of them, we know it's like some foreign actor, not even from the country. So who knows who it is?
Yeah.
Well, so that's an interesting thing too. Is like, okay, so has in any of these things where these bomb threats get called in or whatever, has the police never, ever, ever, ever been able to find out who does it? Because this never gets reported on, like by the mainstream media, almost ever, who these people are that are calling these threats.
Yeah, I wonder if they know, and it's just politically.
It's just not interesting enough for the narrative to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, why is it like Chaya Raichik's job to be talking to the police? Like, I don't know. It just seems like a weird thing to say. Like, this is supposed to be her job to do this, to figure this out.
Right. Did you not catch her bringing up the power disparity too?
I did. She did the P plus P equals R thing. Yeah.
She did, yeah. But I mean, teachers do. It's so weird because just because this stuff is being done surreptitiously by independent actors I mean, they're still in a position of power. If a teacher is teaching, 30 kids or 100 kids or whatever, how are
Mhm.
they not the one with the institutional power?
Of course.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's just like it's so disgusting because that's what allows like that's how if you ask Taylor Lorenz, like, oh, what if there's a teacher that's, they're saying that, gay people should burn in hell or whatever. She'd be like, well, that's the institutional narrative. Like they're promoting the narrative that has the power against an oppressed minority in this country. And it's like, well, that's BS though. You're telling me that you think that the majority culture in America is more supportive of someone saying that gay people are going to burn in hell over saying, kind of teaching gender ideology to children. Like you're out of your mind.
Yeah, you're totally out of your mind. That's not but they believe that that's the institutional narrative just because they've been gaslighted into believing that.
Yeah, and that's where their power comes from is pushing this stuff. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit.
The hypocrisy.
If you eradicate transgenderism, which I believe you suggested in a post today.
No, I never suggested that.
Oh, okay. You reposted a post that was advocating for that. What would happen to the people that have already medically, socially, completely transitioned and are leading happy lives? What would happen to them? I mean, what's your plan for that? If transgenderism doesn't exist, which it seems like that's what you believe, what happens to all the people living happy lives as trans people?
Would you put them in the gas chambers? I mean, I'm just waiting for it, right? That's the insinuation here, correct?
That is the insinuation, yes. Yeah.
Would you gas them?
Yep.
How would you murder all the people who are living normal, happy lives once your transgender dystopia befalls on us?
Yes.
Well, first of all, the whole trans it's based on a lie. You can't change your gender.
Okay, but
so
haha, bitch, they aren't even trans. That's it.
There you go.
Gotcha.
They could go live their life. I mean, I can't tell someone what to do in their house.
Sounds like you do want to tell people what to do in their house.
I never said that.
So you're totally okay with people being trans, just not as long as they're in public.
No, I never said that.
What? This is so bad faith, Sitch.
Yes.
This is so bad faith.
This
you
is
can
like
be trans as long as you stay home.
this is very reminiscent of Kathy
Griffin.
Newman's.
Oh yeah, Kathy Newman. Yeah.
So you're saying I didn't say that at all. So you're saying like, no, what are you talking about?
She needs to laugh. Jordan Peterson did such a good job at laughing at just belittling her with that laugh. Oh,
yes,
no,
yes,
no,
that's
no.
true. True.
Yeah.
They could. It's the whole thing is based off of a lie, and I think that this lie cannot be mainstream in our society. It's a lie.
And what harm is it causing, do you believe?
I like the truth. I like truth.
Right, but I'm saying what's the harm of people expressing their gender identity differently than you believe it to be? What harm are they causing?
Like I said, we are a
Say trans women in sports. Say trans women in sports. Do it.
She at first gives a really bad answer. I think she gives us a better answer later. But at first she gives this bad answer about like, we need to know what is true. It's like, well, okay, that's not really a good answer. I think a better answer is, you have children who are essentially transitioning when they probably shouldn't be, that are, harming their bodies in some sort of, a way in which they cannot repair.
That's a good answer.
Right. Because of the sort of, blasé attitude that a lot of people have that are kind of pushing the sort of gender ideology that you, Taylor, are advocating for. And that seems to be a real harm that we're talking about.
Yeah, false positives.
A nation of truth, and I seek the truth.
But I'm asking about the harm. What's the harm? You might believe it to be false, but what's the
harm? Is that there's a lie that is very mainstream and is being embedded into every institution.
I guess I'm wondering what.
See, I can't tell if she's female Matt Walsh or not. So I don't want to throw my
I don't think
in
she
with
is.
libs of TikTok.
I don't think she is from like this interview and other things I've seen of her.
Okay.
So
She's not really given a lot here, though.
no.
I mean, Matt Walsh does the same thing when he, comes out with his "What is a Woman?" It's like, I'm in favor of truth. I just care about truth, right?
Mhm.
But then when it comes to something like, religion or something like that, all of a sudden it's like, well, this is our heritage.
Right. Right.
It's a completely different game he starts playing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The material harm is, aside from it's maybe something that you disagree with, as in your version of the truth is different than their version of the truth, what is the material harm of them living their life as a woman or man or gender that you don't agree?
Not anything that's wrong is there a material harm necessarily.
So there's no harm.
I didn't say that.
So can you name a single harm?
The way that it's pushed onto kids, first of all.
What's pushed onto kids?
Gender ideology, transgenderism.
But if they're leading happy lives and they just are leading a different...
Well, there are studies that show that they're more suicidal after transition.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, there's a study out of Sweden.
That is not true. That is not true.
Yeah, you can look up the study.
Well, taking into account all of the happy people that have transitioned who are not...
That's not true, Adam. Did you know that? This is not true. I've deemed it so. It's not true.
Hilarious.
Not harming anyone. You can't come up with a single material harm.
So if someone says, I'll be happier if I'm blind, should a doctor pull their eyes out?
I think that's quite different than gender ideology, but people do, I guess...
Someone says I'm happier if I chop my dick off, and we should just let them do that?
I think, there's a lot of gender affirming care that women do, right? I mean, women ascribe to certain gender things.
So okay, this is why I'm like, Taylor Lorenz is like, she must be so noble. She's never had this conversation before with anyone, because this is like the first thing that people always say is like, wait a minute, why is this type of surgery? Why is this specific thing like
Good
removing
for
your
them.
genitals and all this stuff? Like,
Yeah.
why does that have to be taken at face value? Where someone said, "Oh, I want you to pull my eyes out," or remove my arm or something, you'd say, "No, you shouldn't be able to do that." And she doesn't even have an answer to that question.
Of course, because there is no good answer to that question.
Yeah,
What is a good answer to that question?
There's answers. Well, okay. So if I was arguing the other position, the trans, the pro trans position, right? I'd say, well,
this is great. Let's hear it.
I would say, well, the difference is that there's a belief that we found that some people suffer from something called gender dysphoria that creates this massive feelings of dysphoria in their life, makes them feel awful, leads to high suicide rates, and that one of the treatments that we have for alleviating those symptoms and improving someone's quality of life is to help them transition. And that what you're talking about doesn't have anything to do with that. There's not like a disorder where some kind of study has shown that people's quality of life is improved by removing their eyes or chopping their arm off or whatever, right? That would be like the standard answer you'd hear from someone like defending that position.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of people will counter by saying, look, the number of people that it doesn't help their anxiety is quite a bit as well. So
right, and then
Yeah.
of course, there's obviously. I mean, first of all, I was just taking devil's advocate there. I don't actually agree with that position, but that would be the position they would say, and then you would say what you'd say, and then they'd say, "Oh, I don't trust your numbers," right? And then you'd say, "Well, I don't trust your numbers," and you kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
nothing is going forward in that direction. But it's better than just saying like, "Oh, I don't know how to answer this question. Let me change the subject."
Well, look, it's Taylor Lorenz. What do you want to do?
I guess
I want to see the SAT scores. I don't think Taylor Lorenz is. I don't think she's packing a lot upstairs, to be honest with you.
You know what's going to be crazy? I just realized. So, how there was that story about the AI that they could put your brain scan in and it could tell you what your sex is?
I do remember that story.
So, that they're going to be able to do brain scans and they're going to figure out what your IQ is, right?
Yes, of course.
So, there's also going to be probably an algorithm where they can listen to you talk for like 10 minutes And then it'll give you some estimation of what people's IQ score is. And oh my God, that's gonna go when that thing comes out, whether it's like accurate or not, that's gonna go wild. Like everyone's gonna be using that. The memes are gonna be out of control with people just like listening to someone talk for 10 minutes and be like generating their IQ score. Oh God.
I want them to be able to have a filter on Twitter that filters by IQ. So you can say, look, I don't want to see any tweets from anyone below 80. So the algorithm will basically figure out who the NPCs are, and you can just filter them out from their tweets. Yeah. So
things you see women getting boob jobs to affirm their gender. I mean, we're in Los
she's doing the boob job affirming gender thing.
It's so stupid. Oh my God. It's such a dumb position.
Yeah.
Angeles, we see this kind of gender affirming.
So again, you're comparing boob jobs and nose jobs to
they're gender affirming,
buying into the lie that they could change their sex.
Breast enhancements are gender affirming for women.
They're not changing their sex, you idiot.
They're not affirming your gender. She like retarded. There's nothing to do with affirming your gender at all.
Yes, yeah. I like what she says, and I like what Raichik says in here about there being only two sexes, there being zero genders and infinite personalities.
Yes.
I think that is an accurate read of the situation.
I think, isn't that a Jordan Peterson quote?
Perhaps. I'm not
Sounds
sure.
like it.
Yeah. But this whole idea of gender is just a mess.
Dumb.
Useless. Yeah, useless.
There's a lot of women that feel small-chested. They feel like it would be gender affirming for them to have plastic surgery, and they're allowed to do it. And I noticed that you don't critique that. I guess I'm curious, Chaya, they're
No. They feel like maybe they'd be more attractive. Okay. You're getting like a boob job or a nose job or your chin tuck or liposuction or any of these million fucking cosmetic surgeries. You're not like, oh, listen, I'm affirming my gender. You're like, no, I just think I'd be hotter if I did X, Y, Z, right?
Every time you go to the orthodontist, you're affirming your gender. Sitch.
That's right. When I got my teeth straightened, when they gave me braces, I was affirming my gender.
Yep. That's what it is.
Every time you get your hair cut, Adam, you're
affirming your gender.
Okay. Every time you put on an article of clothing, okay. Every time you go to the store, not wearing a dress, that's you affirming your gender. Every action you take in this world, Adam, is you affirming your gender as a man.
Of course, yeah. Chopping your hair off and chopping your dick off, exactly the same.
Same thing. Okay.
A lot of people that have ideas about women, right, and about what makes a woman, right?
Well, and I mean, also just to say, like,
who's down on her boobs for that?
I know the cameraman's going a little crazy here. They're looking. They're all this talk about gender affirming surgeries. Okay, so
I know
they're showing the goods, right?
Zooming in,
yeah. But no, I mean, and also like, I don't think it's that out of bounds to be like, I don't think minors should get non-restorative cosmetic surgery. I don't think minors should be getting boob jobs and nose jobs, right? Is that like that shouldn't be a hot take? I don't think so either. Look, ladies, if you need the boob job, you can wait till you're 18. You don't need to rush right out when you're. Look, it's why. I mean, there's something wrong if your parents are letting you get a boob job at 16. Like, what's going on there, Sitch? Yeah, that's disturbing. Yeah, that is disturbing. That's something's going on there. Your parents be like, it's pretty. I mean, how do you even know you're at your full size anyway? Right. Yeah. Not good. Let yourself develop, and you can make changes once you turn 18. 18 is a good age to be able to do that kind of stuff. What makes a appropriate woman? How should a woman? You're saying you're against people sort of like living lies or living outside this ideology that you've constructed. Some might say, look, we're both women over the age of 25, working. I certainly don't have kids. They might consider that not okay for a woman. Do you think it's up to that? Do you think it's okay for them to dictate how you live your life as a woman? Do you think it's up or sort of where does that line get drawn? So again, you're comparing boob jobs to a teenage girl chopping off her breasts.
Well, first of all, teenage girls get boob jobs, but breast enhancements are gender affirming for many women. I'm asking you, why is it that people have to live under your sort of view of gender? And
It's not my view, it's science. It's facts, it's biology.
But biology, if we're talking biology, there's a spectrum of gender. There's people that are intersex.
That is a rare medical condition that has nothing to do with someone deciding that they could be the opposite gender.
Oh, I'm so glad
I guess
she
I'm
said
still
that.
kind of struggling to understand how you think, if your view, say tomorrow Trump is elected, he says, all right, we're going to all live by...
Okay, first of all, I'm so glad that Raichik said that, because so many people use that intersex nonsense or the intersex condition, they conflate it and make it nonsense to be like, that has something to do with people transitioning, has nothing to do with people transitioning whatsoever. Then notice that as soon as she brings it up, Taylor Lorenz
She
just immediately
runs.
changes the subject. She's like, oh, what? Were we talking about something?
She runs.
Yep.
Run.
Yep. Let's talk about Donald Trump now.
Run, Taylor, run.
Chaya's, decisions, right? What about all these happy trans people that are living their lives that are not harming anyone? What harm are they doing by living their life as a woman who've medically transitioned? They're adults. I understand you have problems with kids, but with adult trans people, what's the harm that they're doing to society?
To society,
Talk about the trans women in prison. Come on, do it. There's plenty of harm.
they're spreading a lie that is affecting children also.
No. I don't think the philosophical argument is as strong as, look, there's this hardened criminal, this rapist that decided to transition and go into the women's prison, and he's raping all those women everywhere. That just has a lot more sting to it, Sitch, than this.
It does have a lot more oomph to
philosophical.
it.
Yeah, this philosophical. Oh, look, I think truth is important. No, stop the rapist criminal.
So you just believe gender is a lie. And what if somebody said to
You can't change your gender.
And what if somebody said to you, you're not a real woman? You're not a real woman because maybe you don't meet these certain specific definitions of femininity.
That's fine, I don't care. They can call me whatever you want.
But what if you would be forced to live by that system? Do you think it's fair that you would, be forced
Is that
to
based in science?
Well, I don't think any of it's really based in science.
Well, it is.
Gender is
There are
a
two sexes.
social construct.
Okay, wait. Early, like 5 seconds ago, Taylor Lorenz said that gender band spectrum was biology, okay, because of intersex. And now she's saying it has nothing to do with science because it's a social construct. So I don't know if you know this, but social constructs have nothing to do with science, Adam.
I know we're getting all kinds of admissions in this interview. It's awesome.
Oh, really? It's nothing to do with science. Oh, okay, that's a very interesting position you're taking. Okay. Nothing to do with science.
She claims that she worships gender ideology, and gender ideology has nothing to do with science. This is gold.
Yeah, there you go.
Gender is actually made up.
Exactly. Yes, we agree on this. We agree.
By a child predator, by a pedophile.
We don't agree.
Yes.
I love that exchange. So good.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, look, we agree. We agree. By a child predator. Oh, okay.
Taylor Lorenz should have made that like the intro clip to this interview.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's pretty good.
So he made up gender, and now they conflate the two, and they use it to basically trans kids. So there are actually two sexes, and there are 0 genders, and there are many personalities. That's what I believe.
Okay.
Taylor's like, okay.
Yeah, she changed the subject, by the way. There's no follow-up to that.
What's up with the mask?
So
pussy.
I actually looked this up.
Oh, you did? Wow.
I did, yeah. So Taylor Lorenz, whatever she's replying to is deleted, so I don't know, but it's about this interview. She's saying that she's claiming that she's immune compromised, and that this is the second largest COVID wave in California is currently ongoing.
Oh, really?
Something? Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of this. I was like, oh, okay. So that was her rationale for the mask.
I got COVID, and it was so much worse. I mean, I've been sick for like a week now, but it was nowhere near the COVID sickness. So you asked me if I had COVID, but I don't know. I didn't take a COVID test. What's the point, right?
Right. Well, I guess just curious.
Yeah.
So how long have you been sick for?
It's about a week.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it could be. It could be. You could have,
It was
mild COVID or
normal though.
something.
I mean, I was sick for a couple of days and just
Right.
lingering, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, same thing happened to me, like last month. So
A lot of LGBTQ people say that your posts cause an enormous amount of pain. How does that make you feel?
How does it make you feel that your reporting on me causes me pain?
I feel sad for that, honestly. Yeah.
So would you stop?
So I just wanted to show that. So that first of all,
would you stop?
yeah, it's first of all, it's this very silly question. Like it causes them pain. It's like, okay, I don't. What am I supposed to like? What are you supposed to do with that information, right?
So they can't turn off Twitter. They can't block Raichik. I mean, come on.
Right. But also, she didn't answer. She just changes the subject again, obviously, from what they're talking about originally. So, okay, for this next part, you're gonna have to take off the screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, okay. So in this next part of the conversation, which is very funny.
Okay. I got my censor here.
Right. Okay. Raichik shows Taylor Lorenz that scene or that picture from Genderqueer that shows like the illicit sexual acts, right?
Okay.
But then after she shows it to Taylor Lorenz, she flashes it at the screen. So we'll take off the video for a second, but we'll keep playing the audio, and then because it's funny to listen to this. Ready?
I got it.
Okay.
This is earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious kind of how you're thinking, when you think about the way that you put out content and the way that you think about growing your media empire.
Here, this is a blowjob.
I don't know what book this is from.
Genderqueer.
Okay.
So should this picture of a blowjob be in elementary schools?
I've never seen a book like that in elementary schools, but I have no idea.
It has been.
Okay.
I posted about it, yeah.
Okay, you can take off the censor now.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
So tell me a little bit about...
So should it be in elementary schools?
I have no idea the context. I have no idea.
So in what context is it okay if it would be in elementary schools?
Absolutely no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
I despise this answer. This is so much obfuscation. It's just it's painful.
Super dodge.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Well, I don't look. What do the professionals say, right? It's like you have no opinion on this. Like if a professional came out and said, "Look, pedophilia," she'd be like, "Oh, the professional okayed it. I have no opinion."
Right. Yeah. Well, and I'm glad that when she gave that BS answer like I don't know what the context is, so she immediately follows up with what's the context that this
exactly.
Should be like,
she hammers her. She hammers her on
right.
it. Yeah. What is the correct context of pornographic material in grade schools?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's like, did the professional sign off on it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not. I don't know, Chaya, because I haven't seen the rest of that book. I don't know what's in there.
But there is a context that it would be okay to give kids pictures like that of gay sex, anal sex in elementary school.
I guess sex pictures in school. I don't know because you know who I would defer to on that. Just because neither of us are sex educators, I would defer that question to a qualified professional, a sex educator, and say, hey, you're an expert. You've treated tons, you've educated tons of people. You're a full-time sex educator. You've really studied this. What are the appropriate boundaries? I don't think that myself as a journalist or a media personality, I don't think I'm the right one to make that decision. And I guess
let's look up sex educators on the internet real quick, Sitch, and see what we can dig up. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty hilarious.
Well, I mean, this is obviously it's a BS answer, because first of all, you can have sex educators that disagree with each other.
Of course, yeah.
That say no, I don't think you should be showing. Of course, yeah. There's plenty of sex educators out there who are more conservative minded and say no, don't show that to kids. And there's plenty of woke ones that say show the kids. It's like, okay, well, there's a disagreement here, Taylor. What's your opinion on this? I don't know. I just leave it up to them. It's such a lie. It's such a BS answer, such a lie, because we all know intuitively that the only reason she's saying that is because she doesn't want to bite the bullet on either A, saying, yes, it should be allowed because that seems insane, or B, just saying no, that shouldn't be allowed, thus giving libs of TikTok lady some kind of justification, for being correct about something. And that's the only reason she's answering that way.
Yeah, yeah. It's just complete dodge.
Yep.
Look, I can't say anything about this. I have no opinion.
I have no opinion about
Leave me alone.
whether a picture of a kid, one kid give another kid a BJ should be shown in public school. I have no opinion on this. Like,
it's just hysterical. Like if a
Yeah.
kid drew that on his desk, he would get detention.
Right. And I'm sure you could go find a million subjects that Taylor has commented on, that she's reported on. You'd say, well, wait a minute. Why are you talking about this subject? Why are you not just listening to the experts? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering why.
I have seen sex educators say that they want these books in schools. So then you're okay with it?
I think I would want to talk to the sex educator and rely on whatever the sex educators say.
Okay.
I'm wondering why you feel like you're qualified to be a sex educator when you have no background in that.
I don't want to be a sex educator. I just don't want to give kids porn in school.
I totally understand. Tell me a little bit more.
But if I could find a sex educator that would tell you children should see porn in school, would you accept that, Raichik?
I know, it's so stupid. And the problem is, like, because so much like disgusting woke critical theory stuff has like weaseled its way into all these various institutions, and then these people come out and they declare themselves experts of subjects. It kind of like creates this like fog of like the death of expertise in America.
Oh yes, yeah,
right.
totally.
Where a lot of people just won't trust any expert because like the expert label has been so maligned by all this critical theory garbage.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, being an expert sucks these days.
More about sort of, just to change topic, about your...
Oh, is that surprising? Just to change the topic.
Right.
She I don't remember where it was, but there's a part kind of about the same topic where she's talking about how there are, LGBT people who suffered abuse, or just children that suffered abuse, basically. And if they had been taught sex ed, they could have understood what was happening to them, and thus been able to, tell an adult or something.
You don't have to show them graphic pictures to do that.
Exactly.
What the fuck?
Exactly. And
what
I was
happened
like, okay,
to the doll?
you could just tell them what's going on. Like when I was in 5th grade and we had our first sex education class in 5th grade when I was 10 years old, they don't show you yeah, if you're a boy, they show you a diagram of a fucking penis, which you have, right? And if you're a girl, they show you the diagram of a vagina.
Right.
But like you don't need to see the physical act. They could just explain it and be like, listen, no one should be fucking touching you there, right? So touching you there, tell your parents, or tell someone, like tell an adult who's not touching you there.
Yeah, you pull out the doll. Look, don't let anyone touch you here or here or here.
Yes.
You're done. We're done.
Yes. So ridiculous.
It's so stupid.
Your content world, you put...
Oh, so that was it. The rest of
okay.
Okay. So let me read some super chats. Is there anything conclusion you want to give to this video?
No, this was great. I'm super surprised that Raichik actually did this. I mean, it's not a stellar performance on her part, but I mean, she has her moments.
It's better than Taylor's, but yeah.
Taylor is the worst.
Sure.
The interesting thing about it is really just the ideological bubble that Taylor Lorenz is in.
Yes.
It's like fascinating.
The delusion that she's like operating under.
Yes, yeah.
And
while
and
she thinks she's doing good in the world.
Yeah, and it's obvious that she's never been challenged on any of this stuff. The way that she's asking these questions and doesn't have follow-ups and any of that, for any of these answers.
Yeah, it seemed like the LGBT community was at one time wise that their activism had limits, that they were like, look, we want to be careful. We don't want to be maligned. We want to be perceived as just part of the community. Don't want to overstep, right? But now it seems none of that, pragmatic effort to be seen as mendable, upstanding citizens. It doesn't seem like any of that exists anymore. It's like, if you don't accept everything we desire, you're a bigot. It's very authoritarian. All right. What do you think?
I agree with everything you said, Ed.
No, you're checking your DMs. I can tell.
CSA pitch. Look at that. It's my evil twin, CSA pitch for $20. Thank you so much. Says, look, I'm glad that Chaya is putting Taylor's feet to the fire, but this really sounds like two women trying to be as catty as possible. Also, be nice to Taylor. She's pretty spry for a 76-year-old. Also, S class is the best class. Thank you.
That's a great.
Yeah, there was something, I don't remember if that was the exact age. There's something where like Taylor Lorenz's Wikipedia was like people kept changing the age to make her seem really old. I don't know why. So Xerxes, thank you so much, Xerxes, for the $50 and the 20 gifted memberships. Thank you. That's incredibly generous. Thank you, Xerxes.
That's amazing.
There you go. Said, hey guys, just got out of sinus surgery. I'm recovering from all the drugs they pumped into me and I'm feeling better now. Hope you're all having a happy Monday.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much and hope that you have a good recovery for your sinus surgery. I hope you're not just donating because you're pumped up on a bunch of,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
a bunch of drugs and you're just feeling great. So, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I hope you don't regret that super chat surgery.
There you go.
But thank you. Yeah. Yes. And I'm glad the surgery went well, obviously.
Yeah. Cameraman 502 for 12 months. Thank you. Says, happy 1 year anniversary. A team is the dream team, but S class is the best class.
Nice.
Thank you. Bruins for 20 months says, you made these 20 months feel like 20 years. Take that as you will.
Yeah, I don't know how to take that, but
there you go. Exactly.
It's been a great 20 years. I feel like I've known you forever.
True. Me or Bruins?
Both of you.
Oh, okay. Caleb, yeah, it's hard for me to imagine a time before Adam. So
yes,
was in my
that's
life.
good. I like that.
Caleb for $5 says, will be really annoying if the entire interview is Chaya not answering questions and just doing whataboutism. I mean, that's part of it. I think that Chaya doing like whataboutism is mostly fair because a lot of it seems like, first of all, number one, Taylor Lorenz is doing like topic bingo. Number one. And then number two, Taylor Lorenz is just asking these questions that she's being very hypocritical to. So the whataboutisms seem to be less whataboutisms and more about like, are you being consistent on this position that you're trying to attack me on? Which I think is fair to point out in these kind of conversations. But
yeah, I do think we can come up with some sort of sex education program that is non-offensive to everyone concerned.
Yes.
That is not an impossible task. And the fact that people want to turn it into a political football just for, political advantage in the next election is disturbing to me.
Right. Caleb for $5 says, annoying that Chaya could represent an important conversation that needs to be had, but has no real substantive beliefs of philosophy is surfing outrage. Well, I mean, listen, I'll be honest. As I said in the beginning of this, I don't think Chaya doesn't seem to be a deep thinker to me in this conversation, but I don't think Taylor could have that conversation for, anywhere near that capacity either. I don't think Taylor actually has like a deep philosophical understanding of these issues or has a deep position anyway, other than like left good, right bad.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like, is it unfair to call Raichik a NPC? Is this like NPCs bumping up against each other in the simulation?
Maybe. I don't know if I've seen enough of Raichik to call her an NPC. I think she's obviously biased. She's obviously very slanted in one direction. Taylor is definitely 100% NPC mode. But I don't know if I would levy that at Raichik.
You haven't seen enough of it.
Yeah.
Enough of her.
Right. Doug for $5 says the total charisma score in this interview doesn't even make it to double digits. Not going to lie. You know what? That's a great point. You're not in a good position when you get out charisma by Ron DeSantis if he appeared in the interview. Okay.
Right. He's the worst.
Yeah. Metal Face Rosie for $5 says Sitch is secretly dating Taylor Lorenz, Chaya's Adam's wife. # exposed. Oh my God,
That's
Adam, you're going to get in trouble. You just said that you just questioned whether your wife is an NPC or not.
Yeah, look, this obviously she's not my wife, but my wife is way smarter than this.
That's true. And also, ew, Taylor Lorenz. No, get out of here.
Ugh.
Hentai OG Tai Toku 310 for $10. Thank you. Says, hey guys, just finished yesterday's stream. Do you guys know anyone who has a good video explaining Starship Troopers fascism? I feel like people on both sides are trying to gaslight me on this. Um, I mean, I know obviously when we talked about, I know Carl did a video on it. I don't remember if Dev did a video on it. So no, beyond those two people, I can't offhand. I don't know anyone that did like a good Starship Trooper video. So I'm kind of like curious myself to read it. I read the book, but I know by the time I actually get around to it, no one will be talking about it anymore. And the topic will go into hibernation for another year or two and then come back. Josie or Jose, is that Joshua or Jose? How do I say that name?
Carrero?
Yeah, no, I
Is
know
that
that
it?
name. I'm the first name.
Josie?
Is that Josie?
Joshua?
Yeah, I
Joe
don't know.
Josu?
Anyway,
Jose? Jose
Josu,
Carrera?
there you go. Thank you. For 8 months, thank you so much. Says Sitch, talking about all these events blowing up. It's too close to a violent bomb threat. Anyways, loving the shorter, more frequent streams. Cheers. Well, thank
Well,
you.
that's great. That's what
Thank
I
you so
like to
much.
hear.
Sitch always gets my name wrong. Yeah, sorry about
Is it?
that. Listen, everyone, I pronounce everything wrong. Okay, it's part of my charm, right?
It's definitely part of your brand.
That's a nice way of saying it. Saying that it's part of my brand. Maybe it's not charming, but definitely part of the brand. Britt Cormier for $5 says, I have a question for Taylor Lorenz. Is there such a thing as a non-violent bomb threat? Can you give me an example? The world wants to know. I mean, that's a good question. Yeah.
Look, I've planted a glitter bomb in your hospital.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
The Butter Anvil for $2 says, I'm not shadow banned anymore. Nice. Was that like a YouTube thing? I don't know. Metal Face Rose for $2 says Taylor and Chaya are secretly dating. Oh my God. Look at that.
Are they? Wow. Look,
I
Metal
could
Face
listen.
has got all the exposed going today.
Could you feel the sexual tension in that conversation? Because I could. It was off the charts. Like it was, oh my God. I felt like at any moment they were going to reach across the table and just start making out.
I thought there might be spitting, but not the good kind of spitting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Renoro Zoro's here for $2 says body integrity disorder is comparable in my opinion.
In my humble opinion. You forgot the humble, but
Right. It could be. Yeah, body. Yeah. No, it could definitely be. That's when people want to
well,
like
yeah, they have
remove
anxiety.
a limb or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, they have anxiety about their body. It's like they want to cut off an arm or a finger or a hand or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it does cause, now I don't know enough about it in terms of what kind of um dysphoric feelings or what kind of apprehension is caused by having it and whether the removal of the limb actually improves their quality of life. But I think it's fair to look into and to compare and say, well, if we're not going to cut off someone's limb for that, why are we doing it for this? It's a completely fair question. Rico Zoro for $10 says, what's worse, people know your IQ or people know when you're lying? It's scary. We could be living in a world where the technology exists, apps on phones very soon. Yeah, that is, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. You could have some algorithm that I don't know if it would actually work, but could try to make some determination about whether someone's lying or not. And that's going to be very obnoxious because everyone's going to throw it up and you're going to be like, I'm not fucking lying. What the hell? This algorithm is full of shit. People are just like, nope, nope, I got it. It says you're lying. Shut up. So that's going to be very awful. Stug for $2 says urinals are gender affirming care. That is very true, actually. I actually agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Don't people say that?
I'm saying it and I'm agreeing with it. Every time I go to a urinal, I just feel very, very masculine. Okay.
Metal Face has another exposed.
He's got two more exposed. Metal Face Rose for $5 says Sitch and Adam are brother husbands who share a wife. Hashtag exposed. Oh my God. Look at this. Look at this.
That's such a sad state. I feel sorry for You know, in areas of the world where they have two brothers that share a wife. Oh,
That's a
brutal.
thing?
Yes, that's a
Where,
real thing.
where is that a thing? Jeez, I don't want that. Sounds awful.
Brutal. I'm
Oh
sure
my
that stuff's
God.
going on in China. They have like one woman per 10,000 people.
Well, listen, if you have to share your wife, would you rather be your brother or a stranger? Okay.
Oh my God. Well, look, I'm an only child, so I'm
There
not
you go.
sure.
You game the system.
I'm not sure. Look, you have
There
a
you go.
brother. You tell us.
Yeah, no, that's a good
It's
point.
worse, right?
Maybe it is.
I don't know.
Maybe it is.
Intuitively, it seems like it might be worse, but I don't
Right.
know.
Metal Face Rose for $5 says Sargon and his son hold hands while watching sunsets. Hashtag exposed. Oh my God.
Now that one seems true.
There you go. There you go. Say No More for two Canadians says, you guys are the best. Always a much watch. Thank you. Thank you, Say No More. Britt Cormier for $5 says, gender is a biological social construct. How do you not get it, Sitch? Taylor said it, and therefore it is true. You know what? Now that you've said it in the super chat, it all makes sense to me. It's all very clear to me now. I don't know why I was confused before.
I'm a gender abolitionist, Sitch.
There you go.
I think we should abolish the concept of gender.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
I agree.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I agree.
We just need biological sex. That's all we need. We don't need any of this gender nonsense.
Yeah. Girl Sarah for $5 says philosophy is so boring, even if they're arguing with Carl gone. This is easily the worst hour and 58 minutes of Sitch. And is that the Human Torch? Oh my God.
Oh yeah, because I
How
did the
dare
Human Torch
you.
thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second because there's no super chat about it. Britt Cormier for another $10. Thank you, Britt. Says Adam, let's get it closer to home. What if the professional said all women need to only have 8 fingers? Would Taylor Lorenz then say, well, I guess 2 of these have to go?
I think she's obligated to by now.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Don't look. So many experts, don't they say get a second opinion when you go to the doctor for a reason, right?
Right.
Experts are fallible.
Of course.
Yeah, just all the nonsense.
Stuck for $5 says, for some reason, we shouldn't regulate government institutions, only private ones. Yeah, it is pretty hilarious to hear people essentially argue that position. Hayden Dill for $2 says, haircuts for Adam are gender affirming. Wink, wink. There you go.
Okay.
I believe it. Caleb for $5 says, touch on the lefty bro that self-immolated in protest of Israel and the reaction from some of the lefties praising this as a brave political activism. I mean, so I don't know how much I have to say about it other than the fact that it's very obvious that a person who self-immolates, especially a person that self-immolates for something that didn't even directly affect them, like, it's not like they lost their family, in Gaza or something, just a random person who doesn't have any like real direct connection to this, obviously is a person who's mentally unstable and wanted to commit suicide. And, like the idea that people are praising this action of a mentally unstable person committing suicide in this like horrific way is pretty disgusting to me.
Yeah, I don't know
And
much
using it
about
for
the
like this
story.
political purpose. Yeah.
Are we gonna? I think we might cover the story tomorrow. So
yeah, maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. More information might come out about it tomorrow. So I mean, I'm
so
curious to
he was
see.
mentally ill. Is that the situation? That
I'm
sucks.
going to assume that he was mentally ill, right?
Oh, okay. Well, look, I don't know.
I mean,
why would you assume
who just
that?
decides to light themselves on fire, right?
Yeah, but then in that situation, you got to say the guy who caused the Arab Spring was mentally ill, and was
yeah, but that's
he?
different. I said that was a guy. There's a difference between someone who has something happen. First of all, that guy probably was mentally ill, but secondly, there's a difference between like if this was a person and they like had all their family in Gaza and they all died, right, and they lit themselves on fire as an act of protest, I wouldn't say that person's mentally ill,
Right.
right? But if you're a person in America who has no direct connection to this conflict at any capacity whatsoever,
Right.
and you light yourself on fire as a means of protest, I'm going to say that you're probably mentally ill because that seems crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I could draw a causal connection.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll talk about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Dr. Diddler for $2 says, it's been a day and I have already seen leftist accounts trying to use the Youssef guy as a cudgel. You think hearing some guy self-immolated would make your rescient to see more, but Free Palestine 63 makes me reconsider. There you go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's reticent, sorry. It seems, it's interesting. If it was a right-wing person who had done this for some right-wing cause, they would be saying, see, this is the danger. This is the danger of right-wing radicalizing people online, right?
Yeah, because they don't see it as a just cause.
Right. So it's all just if you see it as a just cause or not.
Is this a just cause though?
No.
I mean, it's not. Okay.
No, I don't. I mean, not in my opinion. I think you can definitely levy criticism at Israel, but burning yourself alive because you say there's a genocide happening in Gaza, which I don't think there is a genocide happening in Gaza.
What
To
if in
me
20
seems
years we
crazy.
find out though that there was a genocide, like that they're literally their ultimate goal is to get all the Palestinians out of there and take it over, and that's what they execute, and that's exactly what happens. 10 years from now, there's no more Palestinians in Gaza
Mm-hmm. I still would say that the person is crazy for burning themselves alive.
because they don't know that now, right? Because
Yeah, they don't know that
right,
information, and they don't have any direct connection themselves
right.
to our knowledge to the situation. To
But
people in
not
Gaza,
everyone that
so.
burns himself alive in some kind of protest is mentally ill.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
I
Look,
said that.
maybe we'll talk about it. I haven't read anything on it. I don't know anything about it. So I just if somebody has the desire to do some great sacrifice to bring
Mhm.
attention to some cause, I don't know that I just want to dismiss that person as like mentally ill. So maybe that's my own
Okay, maybe.
bias. Yeah.
Death by Sloth for $2 says leftists who subscribe to consequentialism can't argue against the Great Replacement theory because, regardless of intention, European population is decreasing in favor of non-white folks due to Democrat policies and actions. Um, well, I don't think Democrat policies are making people have less babies. I mean, you could say Democrat policies, are making, immigration numbers continue to rise, I guess. But
Yeah. That must be StreamYards or Streamlabs.
Streamlabs, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming is what you mean by that. So I guess I am curious to see whether we're going to get some Biden executive order on immigration that they're saying is going to happen. We haven't really heard any rumbles about it. Or we're just going to continue to do nothing. So as a country. Death by Sloth for $2 says leftists have a rhetorical advantage because when right wing ideology causes harm, it's usually clearly violent. Left wing ideology often causes harm akin to putting a small amount of poison in someone's coffee every day. I think that's true in America. I mean, it's obviously not true for including the communist countries, but I think that's definitely true historically in America. And I think that's a good point, is
It
why it
is
could
a
be
good
more
point.
difficult
Yeah.
to sort of like weed out that problem. So, let's see where was I? Andrew Clark Joy
Gaslighting.
says, "Did you look at the Kidda shout out?" Oh no, let's do that now.
Okay.
Um, we have some time. Let's see. Where I could have swore I had that somewhere.
Is it a Twitter video?
No, it was on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
I'll read another super chat.
Okay.
Don St. Louis for $5 says, "How's the comic? And have you heard of Benigno, a comic by Scout Comics?" No, I haven't.
Shining light on.
And the comic is good. I'm going through and polishing up the lettering, and I downloaded all the people that I need to send comics out to, and I sort of been working on the back end of that stuff. I need to get Sitch to send me the drawings that you guys bought, Sitch, you need to send me those drawings. I'll work it out with you after the stream. But
Okay.
and I looked at Gemini mailers to buy Gemini mailers to mail them all out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the specific numbers, and I've been looking at printers on getting it printed out. So it's coming along.
Nice.
Hope to get it out in the next couple of months here. My wife is going to help me package and send everything. So, which should be fun. I'm going to sit and watch. I'm going to what do you call that? I'm going to manage.
That's not true.
She's going to execute. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
You're going to help her.
Yeah, we're going to do it together. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, okay.
She's actually anxious to help. She thinks it sounds fun. I've Tom Sawyered her.
Oh, wow.
Into helping me paint the fence.
Okay.
This is going to be so good. Yeah, we get to package. We get to put together 4,000 packages.
We get to bond. Listen, you're a woman. You like organizing things, right? This is like the ultimate organizational task.
That is true. I mean, come on.
Look,
we get to do mailing labels on. Actually, I think it's more like 1,500 packages. So
right.
But still, how many packages have you mailed in one day, Sitch?
Not 1,500. My maxed out one time at 1,200. So
12 bullshit.
Oh,
what's the most?
Listen, a lot of people. Listen, I don't know if you guys know this. I used to be a professional model. Okay, and a lot of people wanted the body shots. So
really,
I had a lot of adoring fans. Yeah.
So you had to send 1,200 signed pics of your signed
Okay, that's a
pics?
lie. It was an OnlyFans model, and I was sending the pictures of my junk. All right, stop probing at it.
You sent one OnlyFans model 1,200 pictures of your pecker.
No. I was an OnlyFans model, and I sent 1,200 people. Okay, one
was there
picture
at least
of my
different
junk.
angles?
No, yes.
Look at this.
Yes.
Sammy G. I remember mailing out all the plushies. Kill me.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I can imagine.
Okay, ready to watch this clip?
Yeah, I guess. Sure. Let's do it.
Okay,
what is the backstory on here? What am I looking at?
So this was that guy that got attacked.
This is Bob Geldof, right? He's in that movie The Wall.
No.
Oh, okay.
What? This is the guy we talked about the other day that I'm trying to remember. He got attacked for having some conversation in the classroom. I remember it kind of went on Fox News, right? That's who this guy is?
Yeah, he sang the song Do They Know It's Christmas, right?
Okay, you're not helping at all. This situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you like that song?
I don't like that song. No.
Really?
No, actually, I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it with a passion. So
it just occurred to me that song could be perceived differently from a Jewish person.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Like, do the Jewish people even know it's Christmas time?
There you go.
Although
Anyway.
I think half the people in that song probably are Jewish, but
right. Anyway.
All right, let's do it. Bob Geldof, what do you got?
Warren Smith is the guy's name.
Something can have a remarkable effect. And thank you to there's a great channel that I would encourage you to check out, That Darn Kitty. She noticed something while streaming live. She was looking at the analytics and noticed something as well. Perhaps I'll play that right now.
Better. What the hell, guys? Look what's just happened. We were talking a little while ago. When I first started, he was on 30k subscribers, remember? Now he's lost 100. Interesting. Within the span of the stream, he has lost 100 subscribers.
Does this remarkable work where she maps out logic and the flow of debate. So keep up the good work. I would encourage you to check out that channel. And how many subscribers actually are reflecting through the data.
Well, there you go. So that's a nice. Glad you got a shout out. This was the guy who there's a clip of him that went viral where a student was accusing J.K. Rowling of transphobia, and he kind of was like, "Well, are they transphobic? What did they say? You know, what did she say?" And they kind of go through the argument. It was a very interesting clip. So good. I'm glad you got a shout out, kiddo. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
nice. Nice. I hope it helps.
Learn Fergmerg Berg Lurk for 100 because Ergazark says there's a guy who torched himself in protest of the Soviet occupation of Czechoslovakia in 1969. Well, was he Czechoslovakian or was he just like a random American guy?
Look, this is, I don't know. You can perceive of it as mental illness or some great act of charity.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, especially if the guy's like dead, I just think I'm more inclined to think of it as charity. Maybe out of respect for the dead.
No,
but
it
look,
depends. It depends on the situation and the person, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Do we know what he did in the Air Force?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't believe yet. Maybe more information come out about it today. So,
did he fuel planes?
I don't know.
I
mean, he fueled himself, Adam, obviously.
I know, look,
right?
He
fueled up himself and he fueled up the internet discourse, baby.
Oh my God. So wrong.
There you go.
I couldn't help it. I imagine him like gassing up the planes.
Was Katy Perry's fireworks song playing while like he was dying horribly? I don't know. These are the questions that maybe we'll get to the bottom of today.
We've got to dig in deeper.
We'll dig in deeper.
Deep dive.
Yep. Anyways.
All respects will be paid. Oh, nice. Okay.
I think it's a little late for that, but
well, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll have some great stories for you. And this was a lot of fun, Sitch. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Yep. Bye for now, everybody.
Bye-bye.